I'm going to talk about how to sow seeds in a seed tray and discuss the various ways that you can prepare the medium so that it gives the seeds the best chance of germinating and developing. These particular seeds, Celosia, are quite small, and depending on the size of the seed, the medium that you prepare will be different. So for these pretty small seeds, not as small as some, but they're pretty small. That's probably enough. There are a number of different types of medium that you can use to start your seeds. This is John Innes seed compost. John Innes is not a make, it's a formula. It's a way of making the medium. And in this particular medium, it's soil-based, so mineral-based. Quite small particles, and in principle you could just put this in your seed tray and sow your seeds. That's not a particularly good idea. I don't like using this compost because it forms a sort of concrete-like mass. So I don't use a soil-based compost. I use a peat-free multi-purpose compost. If you were going to use this soil-based John Innes compost, then I would suggest that you put some sand in with it, some fine sand. You can use vermiculite, but because the seeds we're going to sow today are very small, vermiculite can be a bit large and clumpy, so I would advise that you will use sand here. So around about 1/3 of the amount of sand as you've got compost. But we're not going to use this today, we're going to use something else. What I am going to use is my favourite all-purpose peat-free compost. And we'll talk about some of the difficulties that using this will present. Okay, so here is our multi-purpose compost. The two problems that we've got for sowing particularly small seeds in this compost are, first of all, there's some pretty large lumps of stuff, and that's no good for very small seeds. What you need for small seeds is a very fine medium, and I'll show you how I try to produce that today. The other problem is that this particular compost has fertilizer, little globules of fertilizer, and we're going to do our best to take those out because seeds, particularly small seeds, do not like to be in the presence of a lot of fertilizer. It inhibits their germination. There are so many peat-free preparations that are just horrible. The consistency of the medium is horrible. So here's our compost. Here are our seeds. The seeds are so small that we really want to make the material size, the particle size of our compost smaller than it is at the moment, and the way that we do that is to sift it. So I'll be sifting this compost, and I will then be adding some sand, and the reason for that is to provide better drainage. So we'll mix those two together. So this is our compost, and we want to make the material granular size smaller. So I'm going to use a sieve. This particular sieve comes with 3 mesh sizes. This size is 4mm mesh, 5mm mesh, and this is 2mm mesh. You can actually put them together to sort of make a mix and match. 4mm. Every time I see one of the globules and take it out. You get your own method of doing this efficiently. I go side to side and press down occasionally. You can see it's coming out much finer. We can also see fertilizer globules and get rid of them as we go. So you can see we're left with some much finer material now, much more suitable for small seeds. And what we will now do is mix in some silver sand, some very fine sand, so to provide drainage. Around about a quarter of the volume, total volume, will be silver sand. Here's our sand. The part I really enjoy is getting my hands dirty and actually feeling the soil. So that's very finely mixed. Now our seed tray. That's about right. Make it as even as possible. Tap it down so it's settled, and then use something to flatten down the medium fairly evenly. So here are our seeds, particularly small. In order to prepare the seed tray, you really have to read the instructions for each seed, because there are sometimes special instructions for seeds. As a principle, seeds would go 2 to 3 times the depth within the soil of the diameter of the seed, but there are some that should lie on the surface. There are others which require some form of preconditioning, for instance freezing. So read the instruction pack and then follow it. This particular seed pack said lay the seeds on the surface, cover with vermiculite, and that's what I'll be doing today. For seeds this small, I would normally take them in my hand like so, and sprinkle in a nice even manner. And now we'll add our vermiculite. Label up, and they will now go in the water until the surface is just showing damp. Here's a tray we started just 6 days ago. These are cosmos, and you can see how well they've germinated. We'll be transplanting these soon, what we call pricking them out, and I'll do a video of that. So here's our seed tray, which has been resting in the water for about half an hour, and the vermiculite is now nice and damp. So these are ready to go into the propagator. I'll always use a cover to keep the surface of the medium damp. And that's it, job done.